Hello everyone, my name is Zard and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be taking a look at LEGO Star Wars set number 75383. This is Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator. It includes 4 minifigures: Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Anakin Skywalker, as well as the 25th anniversary exclusive Saw Gerrera. It has 640 pieces, building up really just that Infiltrator as well as Maul's speeder. It's meant for ages 9 and up, and it, of course, is a 25th anniversary LEGO set marked there with the logo as well as the blue greebled box art. You can see the twin sons of Tatooine there in the back of the box art, and I think on the box it presents the ship pretty well. You do see the lack of minifigures, I guess, at the front of the box as well, but yeah, just opening up the box, breaking those thumb tabs. There are 7 numbered bags. I guess you can see the first. You get the Darth Maul minifigure, the instruction manual for the set, and unless I'm blind or I've lost it, I don't see a sticker sheet in this set, which, to be quite honest, would be a bit of a delight with this LEGO Star Wars set. So let's take a look at it. Well, here's the set built. Before taking a look at that, I'll take a look at the minifigures. So starting off with the 4 minifigures, we've got young Anakin. This version of young Anakin uses a new hairpiece, the Harry Potter hairpiece, in a dark tan color. I think the same color piece using Will Byers' hairpiece would have definitely been a better choice. I think the face print works for just a young character and young Anakin. Here you can see the back of the torso print and the front of the torso print. I actually quite like this figure. I think it looks really nice. I like the new hairpiece, but I think, of course, that Will Byers one would have been a better choice and more accurate to what we see in The Phantom Menace. But overall, I think the young Anakin here is a well-done figure. The next figure here is a highlight to me from this set. It's Qui-Gon Jinn, who we really haven't seen since, I believe, 2018 it would have been, with the Duel of the Fates set. This one includes the poncho, which is a nice cloth accessory that definitely adds value to the figure. I like the face print, both sides of it I think look nice, as well as the addition of the gray around the beard there. I think it's a nice looking figure. Of course, this one you don't have that death face print that I believe was included in the Duel of the Fates one. Underneath the torso, you've got just his normal Jedi robes, which is a very simple print, but I think looks nice. His green lightsaber. The definitely biggest flaw with this figure is how poorly the legs are printed on. I just noticed that he actually has toe printing, which is a nice addition, as well as the hip piece is also printed, but that leg print is just very poor, especially in comparison to the tan that you see just above it, and definitely stands out. Of course, when you have the poncho on, it's sort of hard to compare the tan colors, but if you were to take off the poncho and just have the minifigure with its robes, I think it would look especially bad, just because you would be able to see the correct tan on the actual tan piece, and then to see the tan on the brown piece, it just looked quite cool. So the next figure, of course, the namesake of the set, Darth Maul, in his Phantom Menace robes, this time including toe printing. I think the torso, the hips, the legs, as well as the toe printing is all very good in this minifigure. The biggest point of controversy when it came to this figure was the lack of pupils in the face, and here I don't think it looks all that bad, and it is continuing a line of minifigures having colored eyes that just don't have pupils. It's become quite commonplace now with LEGO Star Wars, and I'm sure we're going to see it with Ezra and other characters down the line. Of course, Palpatine, Ahsoka, and Hera here. Coming back to Maul, just taking a look at it with some other figures. The most recent regularly released Maul, this is the one from the Ahsoka's Duel on Mandalore set, with, of course, the robot legs from Clone Wars Season 7, and then the most recent iteration of that particular outfit. Now, I think a big issue with these Maul figures was the fact of how, like, bloodshot the eyes would end up, with the red sort of bleeding into the orange there on the eyes. You don't have that really here at all. Like, the actual red bleeding into the orange, which I think you have a bit more on this figure. It of course goes in there, but it's sort of surrounding the orange and not feeling like it's bleeding in as much with these ones. But yeah, this of course I think an improvement when it comes to the torso, leg, and leg design. Of course, he does have his double-bladed lightsaber as well. Overall, I think the Darth Maul minifigure is a good improvement on its last version. It definitely looks a lot different than its last version, which I quite like, because if it had the same or very similar face print, it would look exactly like this one. Already having this one in my collection, I do sort of like the idea of having figures that look a little bit different, and this one definitely does, and it keeps the consistency, I guess, of the current way of doing Star Wars minifigures that have colored eyes, which I think for consistency is alright. Does it look the best? In some cases, I don't think it does. In this case, I really don't mind it all that much, and it's definitely not a big issue to me for this set. The next figure is the exclusive one, the 25th anniversary Saw Gerrera, with the stand for the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, with the print there, as well as the 2x4 plate to connect to other figures. The color here, I guess, is the big controversy when it comes to this figure, whether or not that dark green is really the right color. I don't think it looks too poor, and I don't know if sand blue would have been the best choice. I'm very split. I just don't know what would work here. I love the addition of the detailing on the side of the arms, and I think overall the figure is very well detailed and looks really nice. Turning it around, I think it gets even more detailed. Of course, you can put this cape underneath the armor, and I think it looks nice, but for this review, I believe it does show this in the instruction manual, so I want to show you like that, but I also want to show you it this way to show you the level of detail that is on this cape and how amazing this piece of cloth is. The detailing on this, the little raggedy bits of it at the end, and just the red and tan bits of it, it looks very great, and is one of my favorite bits of cloth I've seen in a LEGO set. It's quite nice. The face print, I think, is nice as well, and the toe print as well, and overall I think it's a very well done LEGO Star Wars minifigure. I think Malik currently is still my favorite just because of how nice it looks with Revan, but this one's probably number 2 and then 5s, and I'm excited to see who comes next. Of course, you've seen the Calcastas, but I do sort of want to wait until I have that in hand before I sort of make my ranking of those 4. So yeah, just moving on to the build now. So here is the build, and right off the bat, this build does not include any stickers. The one printed detail is the dome piece at the top, but that is it. There's no stickers. Any detail is just built up with several smaller pieces, and the size of this thing isn't huge. It's actually quite small in comparison to something. It is smaller than something like the E-Wing. I feel like it feels a bit more substantial to something like the Shin Hati Starfighter, and maybe would be somewhat kind of in line with something like the T6 shuttle for size. It's not close to that, and of course the proportions of those two ships are very different, but I do find that there's some similarities. I have those beside me, and I do think the size similarities and just the overall scale of them feels sort of similar. The colors here, of course, the light and dark bluish gray, a few colors used throughout, some black parts in there, some gunmetal gray, some silver accent pieces, and then of course the translucent red, which you'll see around the build a little bit, especially right at that front area here. Overall, I think the build looks really nice. It is smaller than the last version of the Sith Infiltrator, which I really don't have an issue with. I think I'm totally fine with ships being a bit smaller. I don't want, of course, tiny models. That's more in line with something like a polybag or a midi scale thing, but I'm fine with slight reductions in the size if that means increased detail throughout it, as well as I just sort of like the size that's more displayable. Something big just is really hard to fit on a shelf, and I've sort of, in the last few years, almost shifted my collection a bit to a point where I do kind of like the smaller diorama display pieces, the helmet collection, the MIDI scale, and I guess smaller play sets like this, where you just have a bit of a smaller build, just as I bought the UCS gunship, and I think that was the first one. Like, I had other, like, the two $300 UCS sets, like the A-Wing and things like that, the Y-Wing, the Snow Speeder, and those are fine. You know, those are pretty easy to fit on a shelf. And then I built the gunship, and that ship has such odd proportions that it is just impossible to fit on anything. And that was the first time when I was really like, shit, I need to get some smaller stuff because it is just way too big. But looking at this here, I think the detailing is quite nice. I guess a big criticism of this is the sort of fact of this big ridge here and maybe being a little bit too big. I don't think it looks too bad. Of course, it's meant intentionally to be sort of larger so that you can fit those little probe droids in there, which can come out of the ship. You'll see a bit of more undesirable colors in there, but they don't really stick out. That folds down very easily. And looking at the front of the ship, you've got a mix of dark and light bluish gray, different angled plates making up the build. The underside of the ship, you'll see the little technical bricks, which there you really can't see anything, so I don't think it looks too bad. Around the back, that is the mechanism that will drop those probe droids, is just pushing down there, and then they'll all fall out, as well as spring-loaded shooters, which are two of them right at the front. I really haven't, I guess it is how you'd figure you'd push down this and it'd shoot them off. There's a bit of landing gear used throughout it. I really like the wings here. I think a lot of cases you'll have times when I think back to something like the most recent smaller TIE Fighter, around the wings there were just some really undesirable colors that didn't match up, but using the light bluish gray and dark bluish gray pieces here, there's nothing that looks too undesirable, and I think it overall looks pretty nice. Turning the ship around, you can get into the small interior of this, some flat plates there. Around the back, I like the circular area there as well. You can see some translucent green in there. And then this opens up with the part there, the printed part coming up, these coming to the side, and then you have your access into the interior. Maul fits on his little speeder when inside the ship. I think the speeder looks all right in its dark tan, brown, gold, and medium nougat colors, and I guess the silver handle piece as well. The interior is very small. It really doesn't have much going on at all except for that control panel. Nothing else around the side, just those blue Technic pieces, and really there's no interior really to speak of, but it does close up nice. Maul fits in there with his speeder, which I do kind of like with such a small part like this. I'm sure that this being a smaller ship, I'm sure a great playset for kids. The fact that that little speeder could probably get lost pretty easily, but it just won't, because it's vital to actually placing the character into the ship, I think is nice. The little details around there and there, I think, are some nice parts usage, and the build up of the whole thing I think is done pretty well. Overall, I think the Sith Infiltrator build is really quite good. This set, I don't know, it does feel too expensive, especially for, I feel like, a lack of figures. Originally, of course, I don't believe Saw was necessarily rumored into the set, but it very much seemed like he would be in there. But of course you had Panaka and just a remake of, I'm assuming, this exact outfit for Padme, which would, I'm sure, be very similar to that 2019 minifigure. But I think overall the build is really good. I quite enjoyed putting it together, and I like the final product. but I don't know about the figures. I think the quality of them is fine. I think Maul looks overall pretty nice. Young Anakin is nice. Qui-Gon's definitely a standout. The light printing is poor, but I think overall the figure is nice. And then I think Saw Gerrera is a pretty good figure, and I'm very impressed by that cape. I just think the number of them is probably lacking and could use another figure or two, and I think you get that. And then the price and the value of this is definitely worth it. But where it's at right now, I think it's too expensive for what you're getting here. It's not the biggest ship that I've seen from LEGO Star Wars, especially at that price tag. It does feel a bit expensive. And I think the minifigures, they're good, but I think adding another one, even if it was a figure we've seen before like that, Tatooine Padme that we've seen 3 times at this point, but I don't know, I think bringing in something like Panaka would have been really cool, especially since I just feel like we're very much lacking in the Naboo department right now, and it's been a long time since we saw that helmet, and that would have been sort of a highlight. That, of course, a molded helmet like that does have value to it, but overall, I think Darth Maul Sith Infiltrator is a good LEGO Star Wars set. I'd recommend it for getting a promo. Of course, I bought this for May 4th or May 1st, but to get the promotional sets, and in that case, it made sense to me. Would I buy it now without those promos currently running? Probably not. I'd either wait for some decent promo with double points or some sort of sale from somewhere else. Of course, with the sort of beginning of regularity when it comes to sales directly from LEGO, I'm sure in a little bit, I don't know this year, but maybe next year, you'll see this thing on sale come May 1st or before that. But I'm sure you'll see this, the 20% off type sale on your Amazon, your Walmart, your Target, any places like that you would usually see a sale. And at that price, I think this is a pretty good LEGO Star Wars set. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.